The 42nd floor smelled like money. Not literally, but there was something in the recycled air, the faint trace of leather portfolios, the ghost of expensive cologne, the particular silence of carpet that cost more per square foot than most people's monthly rent that announced, without a single word being spoken, that this was a place where certain people belonged, and others absolutely did not. Daniel Mercer did not belong. He knew at the moment the elevator doors parted, and he stepped into the reception area of Vantage Capital Group's executive suite. The receptionist, a young man in a suit that probably cost twice what Daniel made in a week, looked up from his screen and blinked. A slow, confused blink. The kind that says, "I don't have you in my system," before the mouth has time to catch up. "Sir?" Daniel Mercer. Daniel said it quietly, without apology, the way a man says his own name, when he's used to it, not meaning anything to anyone. "I have a meeting." The receptionist checked his screen, scrolled, checked again. "I'll let someone know you're here." Daniel nodded and moved to the waiting area. He sat. The chair was deep and soft and cost more than his truck, and he sat in it the way a man sits in something expensive when he's too tired to feel uncomfortable about it, straight-backed, hands loose on his knees, eyes taking in the room with the quiet patience of someone who fixes things for a living, and has learned to read what's broken before he ever picks up a tool. The men already gathered near the boardroom door saw him the moment he sat down. There were 6 of them, 3 in charcoal, 2 in navy, 1 in black, so dark it almost looked purple in the recessed lighting. They wore the uniforms of their station without thinking about it, cufflinks that caught the light, watches that made no noise, shoes that had never once touched pavement. They were the kind of men who arrived at meetings 15 minutes early, just to make clear they didn't have anywhere else to be. They looked at Daniel, at his shirt, pale blue, pressed but not new. The kind you buy in a 3-pack and iron yourself on Sunday nights. At his hands, because hands are always where it shows. Daniel's hands had healed over from years of work, but the story was still there in the knuckles, in the slight permanent stain at the edge of his left thumbnail that no amount of scrubbing entirely removed. At his shoes, one of the men, the one in black, heavy-set, with the comfortable ease of a person who hasn't heard the word no in a decade, leaned slightly toward the man beside him and murmured something. The second man's mouth twitched. Not a smile. The thing that comes before a smile. When the amusement is private, but not quite private enough. Daniel looked at the window. The city was extraordinary from up here. He'd forgotten that. It had been a long time since he'd been anywhere this high. And the grid of streets, 42 floors below, had the clean abstraction of a blueprint, which was the only kind of beauty he'd ever really understood. Things laid out, according to function, each piece in its designed place. The receptionist returned. "They're ready for you." He stood. One of the men near the door, heavy-set, black suit. The murmurer cleared his throat deliberately as Daniel approached. An announcement sound. A look at this sound. Daniel opened the boardroom door. The room was long and glass-walled on 2 sides. The city laid out beyond it like an audience. A table ran down the center, dark wood, mirror-polished, the kind of table that had been in enough important rooms that it had absorbed something of their gravity. Around it sat perhaps a dozen people, plus 4 more standing near a side credenza. Executive vice presidents, division heads, general counsel, names Daniel recognized from documents he had read at a kitchen table in a house 30 miles north of here, while his daughter slept upstairs and the heat clicked on and off in the walls. The room paused when he entered. Not dramatically. The way a room pauses when something unexpected happens, a beat of recalibration, a quick collective assessment. Daniel moved to the near end of the table. He pulled out a chair and sat down. The pause ended. People began talking again to each other, in the low register of people pretending they haven't just noticed something. But the glances kept coming, steady, sideways, with the particular precision of people who are very good at looking without appearing to look. Garrett Holloway, general counsel, the one who'd been speaking when Daniel entered, stopped mid-sentence. "I'm sorry," he said, not unkindly, though the not unkindly was doing a great deal of work. "Is there something we can help you with?" "No," Daniel said. "Thank you." Holloway paused. He had the long-practiced composure of someone who handled difficult situations professionally. But this particular situation wasn't in the handbook. Are you perhaps looking for facilities management? They're on 38. Soft laughter from the far end of the table. Not raucous, practiced. I'm in the right place, Daniel said. I'm sure you believe that, said the man in the black suit he'd made it in, taken a seat 2 chairs down, and now leaned back with the easy authority of a man who expected chairs to hold him. His name badge read Clifford Wen, EVP Operations. But this is a closed board session. There's a process for what? Daniel asked. The question landed quietly. Ren opened his mouth. Closed it. He hadn't expected a question back. For whoever you are, Ren said. The warmth entirely gone now. He reached into his breast pocket and placed a folded bill on the table without looking at it, pushing it across the polished surface toward Daniel with one finger. Why don't you take that and find your way back downstairs? The bill sat on the wood, a 50. Daniel looked at it. He looked at Ren. He did not touch it. I have a meeting, he said again. The room had gone very quiet. Son, said a white-haired man near the window, Philip Castor. Board chair. The oldest person in the room by 15 years. I don't know who let you up here, but I think there's been a very unfortunate misunderstanding. Security can help you get sorted out. Daniel nodded slowly. Not agreement. The nod of a man who has assessed a room and found it exactly what he expected. He said nothing more. He simply sat, which was, somehow, the most unnerving thing he could have done. 6 months earlier, the shop was called Mercer and Associates, which was technically accurate only if you counted a part-time assistant named Pete Garfield, who came in Tuesdays and Thursdays, and mostly made coffee and argued with suppliers on the phone. Daniel had started it 7 years ago, in a space he leased from a retired contractor who charged him below market because, as the man had put it, you remind me of myself at your age, and I can't decide if that's good or bad. It was industrial diagnostics and precision repair machinery, automation systems, mechanical infrastructure for mid-sized manufacturers who didn't have their own in-house engineering staff. It was unglamorous, demanding, and exactly what Daniel's mind was built for. He could feel a bad bearing through the floor. He could read a vibration signature, the way other people read faces. The shop had a window that looked out onto the parking lot, and, beyond that, a line of maple trees that went extraordinary colors every October. That October morning, he was under a conveyor drive assembly when his phone buzzed. He ignored it. The vibration was coming from a worn shaft key, which he could feel as a slight irregularity in the way the whole unit was transmitting load. He adjusted his position on the creeper, found the access panel, confirmed his suspicion, and made a note on the pad he kept tucked into his back pocket. Not a phone, not an app, a yellow legal pad worn soft at the corners from living in work pants for 3 years. The phone buzzed again, and again. He rolled out, sat up, and looked at the screen. 3 missed calls from a number he didn't recognize. New York area code. Left a message. He set the phone on top of the workbench, next to a coffee mug that had been full when he'd arrived at 6:30 and was now a cold half-inch at the bottom, and went back to the drive assembly. He finished the job first. This was not stubbornness or distraction. It was the same principle that had governed every piece of work he'd ever done. You don't leave a thing half understood. The problem in front of you is the problem that has your attention until it's resolved. Everything else waits. 20 minutes later, he washed his hands at the shop sink, the old bar soap going gray-brown in the water. And then he picked up the phone and played the message. A woman's voice. Calm. Precise. With the particular unhurried quality of someone who is rarely kept waiting. Mr. Mercer. My name is Victoria Hayes. I'm the executive chairman of Vantage Capital Group. I'd appreciate 10 minutes of your time at your earliest convenience. This concerns an opportunity I believe will be of significant interest to you. Please call me back. He listened to it twice. The second time, he looked out the window at the maple trees, which had started to turn the leading edge of orange working in from the top, the way color always comes to maples, as if something is being poured in from above. He set the phone down. Pete Garfield came in from the back with a delivery manifest and took one look at Daniel's face and said, "What?" "Nothing," Daniel said. "You look like someone called you from the past." Daniel looked at him. "You can't look like that." "You can," Pete said.